we'll start. So certainly, when you are trying to validate your engineering qualification here in Australia, first of all, it's very important that you read the booklet, Engineers Australia Migration Skills Assessment booklet, because in the booklet you have pretty much all the information that you need to validate. But obviously, the booklet is very generic, and it doesn't have hints and tips of people that did this process and had some issues or had some challenges, like I did. And after 15 years, I learned a lot and I got to know a lot of people that had a lot of issues. And since last year, I'm sharing this information with you guys. You may or may not know, I don't know in what stage are you in the validation process. So it would be good if I know, for example, do you know about the validation process? Do you know how the validation process works? If you do, then obviously I can skip some details. If you don't, then I'll probably talk about more details. So put in the comments, in what stage of the process are you? Do you know the whole process, or you don't really know much, or are you confused about the process? So it's important for me to know, so when I talk about the content, I can explore a little bit more or a little bit less. But for those that don't know, Engineers Australia does not require work experience for you to validate your engineering qualification. So if you have just academic experience, as long as your academic experience was good and active, and you did some internship, you have your final assessment, you have some other assessments of other subjects for your bachelor degree, and obviously if they're matching with the ANZ SEO occupation definition, you can certainly use those experiences. So what to write about? And this is not just for those that are just freshly graduated from uni, but those that graduated for some time and perhaps their work experience is not really suitable to Engineers Australia. And that happens quite frequently, especially with some types of engineering. For example, myself, I'm a civil engineer, and as a civil engineer that I graduated in Brazil. In Brazil, civil engineers, they do a lot of things as part of their work that here in Australia is not considered to be a civil engineer. So the live tonight can also help those engineers that, even though they have had some work experience, their work experience is not really aligned with what Engineers Australia considers to be the occupation of a professional engineer here in Australia. So it's not just for fresh graduated engineers, but also for engineers that their work experience cannot be used in the career episode. So what to write about? If you and then did some assessment, and then if you decide that you cannot use your work experience, and then you gotta use academic experience. So what to write? First of all, again, you gotta go to the ANZ SEO occupation definition, and that is the Australian New Zealand standard competency occupations, I think. And that's from the Australian Bureau of Statistics website. It's an Australian government website where those are the official occupation definitions of all professions here in Australia. And the Department of Home Affairs and Immigration Department, and then Engineers Australia, they also use that definition, occupation definition, as their definition in their assessment. So very important for you to go to the ANZ. I'll probably write in the comments ANZ SEO occupation definition. it's going to be tricky to type in Instagram. I will copy and paste in Facebook. I've got a few comments here in Facebook. Thanks very much. And I'll read those questions during the presentation. So if you have questions, and thanks, Ruana. Ruana, I will answer your questions soon. And if you have other questions, just place in the comments. So what to write about? So assuming that, let's say your final assessment, usually when you do your bachelor degree in engineering, you usually have a final assessment. And if you are from Brazil, for example, it's your TCC, your conclusion, trabalho de conclusão de curso, course conclusion assignment, pretty much. And if that assignment matches the definition of your occupation according to ANZ SEO, you can write about that final assignment. You can also write about subjects. Let's say, for example, if you're a mechanical engineer, and that's a good question, what sort of engineer are you? Are you a mechanical engineer? Are you a civil engineer? Are you a chemical engineer, environmental engineer? So I know what sort of engineers are you. So I can perhaps use some examples. But for some, let's say, mechanical engineers, let's say that a mechanical engineer did a final assessment in calculating the, let's say, the thermal loads of installation of a particular equipment, whatever. And they did all the calculations, they did design of the installation layer, whatever, and very technical. So it is probably a good example to write about. However, in some cases, engineers, they write about, for example, implementation of total quality system in a manufacturing process. This example, you could try to use that example if you wrote your final assessment on that. But I've seen many cases where Engineers Australia did not really approve that experience as part of a professional engineer job. Here in Australia, implementation of total quality system in manufacturing or construction sites and so on, it's more for engineering technologists. So you can try, perhaps you have better luck than others, but the examples that I saw, they were not very good, and Engineers Australia did not really approve. What else can you write about? Think about a subject in engineering that was really complex. We all know, we all graduated as engineers, and we all know what sort of subjects they were complex. I'm a civil engineer. I know that the subjects about concrete, the subjects about pre-tension concrete or steel structures or hydrology, hydraulics, they were all soil mechanics, they were all complex. So if I remember the subject and then the assessment that I did for that one there, or a project that you wrote about that subject, and if you still have the report, it's probably a good subject for you to write about. The thing about the experience that it needs to be a complex engineering problem, or a complex engineering project, or a complex engineering tasks. So the word complex obviously is very subjective, because one thing can be complex to you, but may not be complex to the Engineers Australia assessor. So, but we all know pretty much what's complex and what's not complex in engineering. So needs to be complex, needs to be something that involves design, involves calculation, involves analysis. And the second dot point is, what about evidences? What sort of evidences? And I'm trying to speak a little bit more slowly, because I know that my English is not it's not perfect because I'm not an English speaker, a native English speaker. I'm Brazilian, and as a good Brazilian, I will always have my Brazilian accent. So I will try to speak a little bit more slowly because I'm aware that I have some audience from Brazil, audience from Colombia, audience from Argentina, so from few different places. And where are you from? Are you from Argentina or Brazil or Colombia or India or Philippines or Pakistan or Qatar? And are you here in Australia or are you still in your country? So I'm curious to know. I would like to interact with you guys because it's just me here talking, and perhaps if you can interact with me and I can see your comments, I can have a better interaction with you. So what sort of evidences can you do you need to provide when you're writing your career episodes? Thanks, Danielle in Facebook. He's saying Danielle, he's from Colombia. Yeah, welcome, Danielle, and thanks for waking up very early. I'm pretty sure that I think it's 3 hours before Brazil. It's probably about is it 5:50 in the morning? Ah, and you're civil engineer, so you're my colleague, Daniel. I'm also a civil engineer. Adriano in Brazil, yeah, thanks, Adriano. You're like a veteran in my live sessions. And I'm looking forward for you to come here next year to do your PhD. I remember you. Igor, he's Brazilian, and I'm helping a lot. Thank you very much, Igor. Thanks for the feedback. When I get those feedbacks, it certainly encourages me and motivates me to keep going. As you know, I'm here every Sunday. Flavi, Curitiba, Brazil. Yeah, good. And Juana, I'm from São Paulo. I have been here in Sydney for 2 years and I want to validate my degree here as soon as possible. Yeah, that's very good, Juana, and I hope that my content can help you. I'll be here every week, and perhaps next month or in December, I'm going to promote another free workshop, my free workshop, Engineering Qualification Validation here in Australia. I'm trying to rejig my workshop, and if I can finish, I'll finish before Christmas, and perhaps I can do another edition of my free workshop. But if you want to register to the free workshop already, before I open, you can register. I put in the comments the link for you to register. For those in Instagram, the link is in my bio, so you can go there and go there and register. So YouTube, I put in the comments as well. And Diogo is saying, would you mind type this, please? Yeah, from Sydney. It's been almost 2 years since I'm living here. Yes, Diogo. So it is the is the A and Z SEO occupation definition. So, and I will paste in Facebook as well. A and Z SEO occupation definition. And the A and Z SEO occupation definition, I'll put in Instagram, A and Z SEO occupation definition. And I will tell you that this is probably the most important part. And you guys probably in Instagram, you probably saw that I typed in as my other page. I have actually another page that if you could follow, it's Como Vencer Meu Câncer. I created that page. I wasn't supposed to put in that one there, but I ended up putting. I didn't really disclose too publicly, but I had cancer 7 years ago, and I obviously survived, and I created a page to share information about colon cancer, especially for young people. I was 41 when I was diagnosed, and I almost died pretty much. But I did a lot of things, and my wife and my family, my friends, they helped me a lot. So I created that page to share some useful information that I believe helped me to survive. So if you can perhaps go to my page, have a look. If you like, follow me and share with others that perhaps they are suffering from cancer or have a cancer in the family. And I'll be sharing some information that helped me, perhaps can help others as well. So that's why you can see that in the Instagram, I typed in using my other page, because I logged in my other page just to check if everything was going all right with my live session. All right, so where was I? Yeah, Tiago, he's in Vitória, Brazil, but he's living in Sydney. Thanks, Tiago, and I'm hoping that you enjoy the mentoring program. Good. Yes. All right. So evidences. What sort of evidences, when you're writing your career episode as using an academic experience, what sort of evidences you need? Well, first of all, if you have your report of your assessment when you did, for example, your final report or assessment or assignment at uni, if you have a copy of your report, that's very good. That's very good evidences. But sometimes you don't really have the report anymore. And then what do you do in these cases? It happened with one of my other students of my mentoring program. She wrote about a university subject, but she graduated back in 2003, and the subject she studied was in 2001. So she said that she didn't have a copy of the report, and Engineers Australia actually asked her a copy of the report. But because she didn't have the report, I suggested her to contact the university and to speak with the professor at that time, or the course coordinator, and I suggested her to send them what she's written as part of her career episode, and ask them a letter saying that although she doesn't have the report, or they don't have the report anymore, the content that she wrote in the career episode reflects pretty much what was discussed during the classes and during the assignment. And the professor then signed that letter. And in her case, Engineers Australia accepted that letter as evidence. So it can be done, at least for her, it could. But I believe that if you don't have the report, if you can get a letter from the university, you'll probably be all right. Also, evidence is that it's important that Engineers Australia, they usually ask you, is for you to provide pictures, diagrams, tables, calculations, AutoCAD drawings that you did. So everything that you did, especially to support your claims in terms of evidences of your professional experience. And it's important that's got to be done by you. If you ended up getting pictures and other things from the website and copy from other things, you know that that's plagiarism, and Engineers Australia will catch you, because they've got very advanced plagiarism detection software, and you will get caught. And nowadays, Engineers Australia can ban you for up to 3 years. So it's really serious. Another good question that people ask me, and just to highlight that this subject tonight is coming from my Survey Monkey. So I have a Survey Monkey. I'll see if I can copy and paste the link as well, because what I did, I opened up a Survey Monkey, and people can answer some questions. They can send suggestions about future videos and live sessions. And then you can, where is that? And then you can suggest themes and subjects, and then I'll cover in future live sessions. So if you have a suggestion, please, I'm just going to open here. I'll copy and paste the link, and then I can paste in there. So I'm going to paste in YouTube. That's my link of my survey monkey there. So if you guys want to complete the survey, you can, and gives me more ideas as well. To it's just kind of 3 questions, not going to take more than 2 minutes for you guys. Those in Instagram, the link is a bit complex for me to type in, but if you go back then to my Facebook, the post of this video later on, and you can see probably in the comments the link in the survey monkey. So somebody was asking this question: how can I validate my qualification without having work experience? And I chose that topic to talk tonight. In terms of CPD, CPD is your continuing professional development. And as part of your validation process, you need to provide your CPD, continuing professional development. It's important to say that just the CPD events that you did after your graduation, you can use in your report. So if you did some training, if you attended workshops or seminars or conferences or meetings or site visits or technical inspections, if you presented a white paper, if you did a presentation to somebody else, whatever, if you did before your graduation, you cannot use that one there. CPD is just after your graduation. Oh yeah, Jerson, but I just freshly graduated. I didn't really have time to do my CPD. Yeah, that's fine. You can also do private studies. You can read technical articles, technical magazines, legislation, technical specifications. So in my workshop, in one of the videos, the second video, is it the second video? I think it's the second video of my workshop. I give a lot of information. I explain in very details how you can accrue your CPD. But it's really important, especially if you are here in Australia and if you are not working in your field of expertise. I certainly encourage you all to start accruing your CPD. It's very important for you to start reading and keep records of what you are studying, of what the training that you're doing, events, workshops, webinars, etc. And what types of experiences that you could be using if you don't really have work experience? Well, you can just use 2 types of experiences in your career episodes: your academic experience and or your work experience. And if you don't have a relevant engineering, if you don't really have a relevant engineering work experience, you will need to use a relevant academic engineering experience. So there's no other way. And then, as I mentioned before, what to write about. Usually, they are the experiences that involve design, they involve calculation, they involve analysis, they involve perhaps the creation of a new methodology, the creation of a new production process, and so on. I'll have a look at the questions. And Ruana is asking, could you explain more about the cases we have to write? Yes, of course, Ruana. The cases, they are called career episodes. And the career episodes, they are a narrative of your engineering experience, either academic or work experience. And they gotta be from a complex engineering problem or a complex engineering task, or a complex engineering project. And you have to write them between 1,000 and 2,500 words each career episode. And you've got to write 3 career episodes. The other question is, see if I run as well. Could I use my TCC to write about more than one case? Since in my TCC, 2 different subjects were involved. I don't really believe you. There's no reason why you can't really run, as long as those 2 different subjects, they are complex and they involve those things that I mentioned. Design, calculation, analysis, scientific research, and those sort of a really raw engineering field. If it is superficial, because you got to remember, I don't know if you guys are aware of the whole migration skills booklet. I have it here. So that's the migration skills assessment booklet that you need to download. And you go, if you just Google Engineers Australia migration skills assessment booklet, you will get to that result. And I'm just trying to check here YouTube. Yeah. And you will see that you need to demonstrate 16 competencies. So Engineers Australia asks you to demonstrate 16 competencies in your career episode. So if you cannot really demonstrate the 16 competencies using those experiences in runner, you got to think about that the subjects that you're talking about, they got to be complex enough to be able to cover the 16 competencies. Sometimes the subjects are not very complex, or they are not very deep. They could be a little bit superficial, and then you won't be able to demonstrate the 16 competencies. So that's what you got to be careful. And I keep saying, the validation process is very simple. It's a step-by-step. You've got to get your documents together. You've got to do your CPD. You've got to write your 3 career episodes. You've got to write your summary statement. You've got to have your minimum English score. You upload everything in the system and you hit submit. Obviously, you pay the fee and then you hit submit, and that's it. So the process itself is very simple. It's a step-by-step. It's everything written in the booklet. Unfortunately, the process is not easy. Because one thing can be simple and easy, or simple and difficult, or the process can be complex and easy, and complex and difficult. In this case, in my view, I think that the validation process is a simple process, but unfortunately is not easy, because you have to do a lot of things. If you put an action list or a checklist of all the things that you're gonna do, you will have probably nearly 100 activities that you need to do. If you do a Gantt chart as a good engineer, if you do a Gantt chart, try to identify a critical path of your validation process and everything else, you will see that you end up with almost 100 activities that you're gonna do. There's a lot. So, and that's why the process is difficult. It's not complex, but it is difficult. So any other question? Oh, there's, I think I'm just checking questions in Instagram here. I believe there is a question from Felipe. 16 for each career episodes. That's a very good question, Felipe. And the booklet doesn't really say about it. Or maybe it says that you don't really need to address everything. But I strongly recommend, and I strongly suggest and encourage you guys to make sure that you write every single of the 16 competencies in every single of the 3 career episodes. And why do I say that? Because the more competencies you can demonstrate, the bigger is your chance to be approved. because you got to remember that it's a person that is assessing your report. Behind the computer screen reading your report, there will be a person, and the assessor will probably have a different interpretation of what you believe is a competency. So if you write just one or two competencies or evidences of each competency, perhaps you think that those are evidences, but the assessor may not think the same. And if they don't think the same, they will not going to think that you are competent, and therefore you may not be approved. So I strongly suggest you guys, when you're writing your competencies, you gotta have lots of evidences of each competency and each career episode to address all the 16 competencies. And because of that, that's why the experience needs to be complex, because you need to be able to cover the technical aspects. You need to be able to cover the engineering aspects. You need to cover the management aspects. You need to cover social aspects, communication aspects, ethical aspects. So there's a lot of aspects to be covered when you're addressing those 16 competencies. So that's why I say that the process is simple, but unfortunately it's not easy. There's another question from Felipe. Yeah, cool. I should compare my competencies from Brazil with Australia, right? Well, the competencies, they are already defined in the booklet. So when you go to the booklet, you go to page 31, I think. And you go to page 31. Is the professional engineer, general description of the role. And then from page 31 and 32, you have the units and elements of competency. So the competencies are all there. And what you need to do, and that's the difficult part, is that for under each competency, you need to think about what is your example, what is your experience that matches with that competency, and then you can write about that competency. So that's probably the difficult part for us engineers, because at least myself, I'm not very good at writing, and when I did that 15 years ago, sorry, it's my alarm. I struggled to write and address competencies. But then after 10 years of reviewing career episodes and helping other engineers, I now got it. And that's why I put together my mentoring program where I teach engineers how to do it, especially because plagiarism is very strong. And if you ask somebody to write on your behalf, it's plagiarism and you will be caught. So that's why I teach my students. And this week I had a very good news. I have another Brazilian engineer. She's also civil engineer from Sydney, and she was very emotional because she got her approval from Engineers Australia, and she is one of my students of my mentoring program, and she joins the other 5 engineers that I already they participate in my mentoring program and they got approved by Engineers Australia. So, and so for those that I'm thinking about running another free workshop next month, or probably in December, November, December. If you don't really know about the validation process, or if you're interested to know more, you can register yourself for free. The link is in my bio in Instagram, and then in YouTube and Facebook, I place in the comments. So got another question, probably the last question here in Facebook. I need to go. It's been already 45 minutes, and I promised that these sessions were going to be about 30 minutes. So what's the difference about production and industrial engineering? They look similar according to the ANZ SEO. Yeah, that's a very good question, Rana. I don't really know in details. I gotta go back to the ANZ SEO and have a look at the difference. But yeah, I can't really answer now, but I can have a look and maybe we can catch up later on. But there's certainly a subtle difference. I noticed that you are a production engineer, and it potentially could be very similar, the industrial engineering. So one could be even a specialization of another. I'm not quite sure. All right. So I think I'll go. And I would like to certainly thank you guys very much for your participation and your interaction with me. It's really good when you guys participate because certainly it motivates me to keep going and I can think different things and I can see the questions that you have and I can think about in new subjects for next week. And again, if you haven't done or if you want to do the Survey Monkey to help me to choose subjects for next live sessions and more videos, you can go to my Survey Monkey. I left the link in my YouTube and in my Facebook. And if you don't know me, my YouTube channel, you can just search Gerson Ida and subscribe to my channel if you like the videos and hit the notification so you know when a new video is uploaded. And you can help my channel to grow and the content, pretty much all free content, to reach more people. Felipe says, yeah, thanks a lot, Jason. Very nice job that you have been doing for us. No worries, Felipe. I always say that Australia helped me a lot here and welcomed me very well, not just myself, but with my family, my wife and my daughter. And what I'm doing, I'm just trying to help you guys because I know that being an overseas engineer here in Australia is not easy. And the life of an international student, which is majority of you guys, I was an international student as well, and I know that's not easy. You've got to work, you've got to study, you've got to do your validation, and if you have information that's more readily available, it will help you. So thank you very much, guys, and I hope to see you all again next Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time, either on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.